All right, should go full screen. All right, today we are going to do a short video of who I think can win. And when I say major, I mean the majority of the players are there, so it's not like you have a major with no top players. And a large part of this is just to go. I mean, if we were to run enough alternate universes, as long as a character can win neutral once, then technically every character can win enough neutral. I mean, enough tournaments. Like if Zelda hits you once, it can like hit you, and they get lucky enough times. Then sure, like technically every character can get to a point where they win a major. Now, that doesn't really create for productive conversation, and that's why I hate the word can, like can a character. And so I think we may have to rephrase this to how likely a character can win a super major. And this is, of course, running a scenario, and how I boil it down is just like how many times you have to run a tournament before we like can see like a feasible chance of a turn, like a character winning a tournament. So what I mean by this is like let's say like um I had like a 0.01% chance of beating Cody or IBDW, right? Then if we ran the tournament 10,000 times, then I would very likely beat him in one of those, right? But then I have to play Mango, I have to play Zane, and like maybe I have like a 1 out of 1,000 to 10,000 chance each. So like it would be like a billion, trillion, like quadrillion, like alternate universes before I would even hit top eight, and maybe we run a Google amount of tournaments before I'm in grand final. So I'm gonna preface by saying that technically, as long as a character can hit the other person, then yes, technically every character can win a super major. I'm just talking about the like. So I want to just preface my definitions there because someone's going to be like, well, of course, this character can, but it's not very likely. That's the larger point. Um, okay, so how do we start this off? So S means that they've already won. That they've already shown capability. We will just put all the characters. All right, Sheik may be a little controversial, but so Sheik and Falcon may be a little controversial. I know we have Wizzy, but with how things are, if we're gonna scale on like what is the likelihood of them being, then it's tough. But nonetheless, these 6 characters, and I might add a few more, have shown that they can win a tournament in 2020. Maybe Falcon doesn't much, but we've seen Hungrybox win, we've seen Zane win, we've seen Cody win, we've seen Mango win semi recently, we've seen win. Now you can make some arguments here that maybe Sheik has a little bit more difficult of a time, and that might be just a Hungrybox thing. It could be um, Ice Climbers, which have been fallen out of favor in the meta just because characters across the board have gone better. They're more clean, and so Ice Climbers tend to rely on other players making mistakes for large advantages. But also at the same time, Wobbling's gone, so it's less of an issue. She can frequently make it without really encountering an Ice Climber. The interesting thing I will say here is there was an era where you had to fight Hungrybox and Armada, and that's why you can handle one bad matchup. Most players, if we're talking mono players, like most players can handle having one bad matchup and making it far. But when you have two, that means just like next to impossible. Which is why during the Hungrybox Armada era, you saw just a lot of people just gate capped, right? Because they had like 1090 matchups against both. The odds of beating both are just really, really, really difficult, right? But the odds of either skipping one or getting lucky on playing against one of them and getting an upset more likely when you have one person that is like your bracket demon to two. Okay, so we haven't seen Falcon lately, and that's largely because of Wizzy. So I might put I let's consider S and 8 here. Like they have like a really strong chance. S has been definitive. Um, I will also put Peach here. If Armada were like playing in a tournament, then yeah, sure, we put him there. And maybe we should define definitions here. And oh, I forgot Yoshi. Of course, Yoshi. Shouts to Amsa. But thematically, a lot when I look at characters and I evaluate them, it's like there's two things, right? Like, do they have a strong enough neutral game that like they can win neutral enough times, and they have the punch game to match? and then you start getting into like the lower tiers, and then you see less and less luxury. So I'm gonna go on the other end of the spectrum here. Why is there a Chic Zelda and a Zelda? It's like, what kind of punish game do you have that can, like, even if you were to have high enough variant, like even if like the character's not great, right, at least they can create variants. And so ice climbers, um they might be it's largely improved mainly because they have a really strong punish game, and you can run into a string of players just not playing well. That I can see them. It's a gamble. um all right, so let me think about this. Characters that so I'm gonna just put some character. I'm just gonna eliminate a lot of characters because they just don't have the punish game to do much. I mean, Zelda kind of does, but not really. Like, um, at least the characters, like, I just don't see a world where they win neutral enough time. Like, there's a lot of mid tiers that can make upsets because when they get the grab or when they get a setup, or like on at least like Fox Falco Falcon, and maybe Sheik Marth, like they can actually do something with it. But with these characters, they just don't do anything. They do 20 damage and then neutral resets, and then the odds of beating like the world class players is just like obnoxiously hard, right? Because you kind of hope that you win neutral once and you get a stock, right? That's the case for a lot of these players, right? It's like they have some tree, or like maybe you can make one or two stock. I don't really see that. I guess we could toss about. I want to add one more tier because it's not necessary, and I need a way that I can add one more. Add a row below. These are just random things, just not confused. Okay, so now we get to this like zone that's interesting. The nice thing about Pikachu is he can zero to death certain characters. That's relevant. DK, like, I have to give props to Axe because like he makes like I Blur and I differ on this. I don't think Pikachu's that great of a character. I think he's hard carried by Axe. And this is more of a sentiment to say like I just think Axe is just extremely good. Um, Now there are scenarios where Axe runs into Zane. Like, let's say he plays a bracket of like SUJ into Zane into like Fox or Falco, and Axe is just playing really well. Fox Falco plays sloppy, then yeah, it's definitely possible. We've seen it, Summit, but it's just very unlikely. Like, well, think of just how many tournaments Axe has entered, and just like how many he's like made it to grand finals in recent years. So definitely possible, right? Not as likely as like Falcon. He might actually be below Ice Climbers. Like, we just don't see Ice Climbers around. Like, I might pick Pikachu here, like at the top of C tier. Like, I just think Ice Climbers' ability to like powerful that if we just saw a better Ice Climbers. Samus is interesting. I think Samus is a consistent character. So if we had like 100 Samuses and like 100 DKs, like maybe on average the Samus is placed a little higher. Just the upset factor is just not quite there. So large issue here is I think a lot of characters are just a lot of players are just better at DIing out of Samus's stuff. Super's good, and again, Plup leaving Samus, it does hurt. But even when Plup was playing, he wasn't there. Hungry Box is stopping him. I just think the character just doesn't have enough like good matchups to really warrant seeing that this character can have upset potential. Again, I think Samus is a stable character, and if we're like put it out like out there, like character that I see consistently can make like 9th, 13th, 17th, 7th, 5th, right? And again, average placement's probably more consistent, but just the volatility of when we asked the question was the likelihood of winning a tournament, and that's completely different than average placement. That's why Samus is really low. We might need another tier list, another tier below. So, like, I'm just gonna like say this is like C minus or something. Okay, characters that just don't really have a punish game. Okay, like Pichu can actually like, kind of combo people. So is Roy. I think. God, these characters are so bad. Um. All right, let me think this through. Mewtwo might be interesting. He does like have combos. Okay, let me like think this. So I just added a bunch of characters. Young Link, yeah, Armada used him for a very specific matchup. And a little known story back, I think it was Apex 2012 when Armada was starting to bring out the Young Link, and it was commonly known. I think Pound 5 already happened, plus maybe another event. Armada was playing Young Link against like PC Chris, Agam, and a bunch of other, like probably top fit 10 to 15 um, space animal players in that era, and he was beating them pretty soundly, like 1 to 2 stock, like 1 stock low percent or 2 stock against like PC Chris and stuff. So I think that's just a testament to how good Armada was at the time and how much better he was than everybody else. But again, Young Link, he's a character that is really good at playing against other floaties. I don't think this character is just that good at having like um like this character just doesn't have like enough like I can kill you with one hit tools. So like it's hard for me to really put him higher. Maybe Mewtwo goes here. Gosh, it's hard. Okay, let me think. Do I think again? This is so hard. Okay, I don't. I think Samus is a better character than people in the C range. I just don't think Samus has upset potential. So like the likelihood of, I mean, maybe like Plub, a Plup like character beats like Cody could beat Zane. So I can kind of see, but then like you have the Puff issue. You have a Falcon. Like I think he has okay matchups. So maybe Samus goes higher just because like I think Marth is doable. I think Fox and Falco are kind of they're not. So he's one of those bizarre things where he's like a 60-40, like or like 40-60 or 45. It's a lot of these characters. I think Puff is horrendous for Samus. Like I just don't see like how Samus kills Puff unless you like down smash. So like that's kind of an issue. Um, okay, by sheer neutral game, I'll just put him in C. Um, okay, Ganon and Mewtwo, right? I just put them here. I think kudos to like the Ganon players. Like I think Ganon is just so terrible, but like you can have players that just never played against the Ganon and still somehow win. Like whereas the Ganon players probably played against that top player for years, like that top tier character for years, and they somehow still lose. So like I think what would help Ganon move up is if he had like a FD like punish on like on spacies, and I would put him higher. And Ganon like you can like he can get like 3 to 4 hits on somebody and kill them like there's like that factor. So maybe he's here. You two and Roy are interesting, right? We saw what's his face. We saw Zane play Roy for a little bit, but I think people kind of figured out the Roy after like weeks. Oh, if he's off. Although he has like the chain grabs like and whatnot. Actually, I no whether or not I think Mewtwo is consistent enough to win. I think better than Roy is. I think it's terrible. Like I think Roy is tolerable if you play against like Fox Falco and maybe like Falcon doing. Now, funny story. The tournament I realized that Roy was terrible was it was like an old SoCal tournament, and it was I believe Lunchables or somebody from Texas playing against Fly Amanita, and Fly's Ice Climbers, and Fly literally just waited on a platform, and literally Roy couldn't do anything, and Lunchables or whoever the Roy player was understandably very upset about that, and I just went, yeah, I don't know what Roy does, and I just think that Roy has a few decent matchups. He's won, I think Zane has done pretty well. But again, Zane's the best player. But like now, like we put Zane, like if Zane were to play like against the other like top five players, like I just don't see this character like having a chance. Maybe it wins a match or two against Mango. If Mango's fooling around. Like I do not see it being Jmook. No, I do not see it being like $100 or Omps. Like I just think these are total like these are just really it's just really rough for like Roy. Mewtwo I can kind of see again. I think again like I don't think like they're worlds apart. I think like when you go to like C to C minus to C minus minus like I think they're just ish. But again I just don't. It's a rough road. I think C is definitely higher. Link. The hard thing about Link, and I know Aklo exists, just doesn't hit hard enough, and like he has issues like he can't. It's hard to grab him in some damn shield. Like Link doesn't have a great shield game. Like I think if Link could kill more consistently, like I think Link would actually be decent. As I see it now, Link just suffers from the fact that he just can't kill. Like he can't kill things, and he has good aerials. Like, but again, like one of my criterions for volatility is like, hey, like can I see you like killing spacies like with like one grab right consistently? At least Roy has that like option, like that capability, even though it doesn't happen as frequently. I just don't see avenue where Link is just killing people at like 80 or just like one tapping people. It's like I kind of see that with Ganon. I can kind of see that with Mewtwo. I can kind of see that with Roy, and Pichu definitely has that. But goes other definitely DK. Oh, I forgot to mention DK. I think DK is actually like low key really good, and I'm not just saying that because I got upset by DK in tournament, which everyone remembers. But I actually think like DK is like in some ways like Ice Climber Light, like where like he does a lot with the grab, and I think DK's mobility is like at least decent. That I can say that like, hey, like I can see this character like making upsets more. All right, Luigi is kind of interesting. I kind of view Luigi in the same boat as Samus. At least his like zero to death is like kind of interesting. Like his neutral's actually decent. So it's kind of like one of those things where Luigi has neutral tools decent, although some obviously. But and he has like an actual decent punish game. So probably put Doc here again. My knowledge of like mid tiers is not the greatest. So I actually talked to Mango about this. I talked to him about like he used to be known for Scorpion Master, and he played the streams where he was playing Mario and then Doc, and then we had a discussion about Mario versus Doc, and we just both concluded. And I watched a little bit of the stream. It was nice. We both just concluded that having kill options is great, and that's just something Mario just doesn't have. And both these characters, have like it's way harder. Like I talked to Mango, and he said, yeah, it's just way harder to people who just hold down and fast, and you kind of have to trade and like you have to play a really solid neutral to get hits. But the fact of the matter is, like Doc has just way more kill consistent setups where like it's a struggle for Mario to kill, and I think that matters a lot. So that's why like Doc, like he's here, and like Mario would be somewhere here, right? Like in terms of, can I see like if Franz was like a little bit better, like can I see like some odd tournament, like if you ran it enough times, like that, like Doc hasn't roughly the same chance. If there was a person as skilled at Doc as like Axis and Pikachu, yeah, I can kind of see it. I think the biggest issues he might have is like Puff like air stalling him. Uh, and again, Doc has a lot of tougher matches. I don't think he does. Falco doesn't really Sheik. Falcon, I think, doesn't really do well with Falcon. But again, like these are doable matchups for Doc, they're not possible. And Game and Watch, he's a character that I just don't know what to think about. Like, upset potential. Don't think he has a great. I think he's a character that I just can't really see. Like, doesn't have that magical one tap. Better neutral than most other. Yeah, in sums, this is like my list. I think at this, it's like the likelihood. Technically, like even about like the D tier could win a major if you ran it enough time. Uh, can all these characters win a major? Yes, technically, yes. As long as if your character can do damage to the opponent, right, then you just run enough scenarios that you're starting to take stocks or you're starting to win games and starting to go back here, right? So technically, every character, yes, they can win, but this is kind of like my perception of that they can win. S and A tier pretty demonstrated that they can win. DNC is a little sus, although we have Axe and had Ice Climb past like, and this is just kind of how I view. Okay, like, if you had a world class player, leading that player was. So yeah, that's it for me, and hopefully